Hi, I'm Doug Hayhoe, and I've written a series of short video essays and podcasts on science, faith, and other topics. Most of the episodes relate to one of God's two books, nature or scripture. This one is called The Importance of Trees, and it relates to both of God's two books. First, let's think about a few interesting facts about trees. The General Sherman sequoia tree in California has a volume of 1,500 cubic meters, compared to 200 cubic meters for the largest blue whale. The California redwood tree, called Hyperion, reaches 115 meters in height, that's 380 feet, compared with 34 meters in length for the longest whale. And the Great Basin bristlecone pine, called Methuselah, a narrow tree clinging to rocky soil in California's White Mountains, is estimated to be 4,853 years old. Now, that's an old tree. How many different tree species are there? You can start thinking about this by looking around your residence, using the Seek app by iNaturalist or the Picture This Plant Identifier app. I've identified 5 species of conifers and 11 species of broadleaf trees around our house. The evergreens include spruce, cedar, and cypress, and our broadleaf trees include maple, oak, walnut, and willow. Some were natural to our property, and some we planted. The city of Toronto, where we live, has as many as 200 different species of trees, and Canada might have 2,000 different trees. But a recent report estimates there may be 73,000 different species of trees in the world, most being in the tropics. So far, only 64,000 have been identified. The main question that this episode addresses is, what good are trees? And probably the first answer that comes to mind for many people is this: their fruit is good to eat. When my children were growing up, one of our joys in living in Colombia, South America, was having a papaya tree in our backyard. Here you can see it. If you like fruit, you'll probably also like apple, apricot, banana, cherry, grapefruit, lemon, lime, mango, nectarine, orange, peach, pear, persimmon, plum, pineapple, and pomegranate trees. Then there are other delicious things that grow on trees, such as avocados, almonds, cashews, coconuts, dates, figs, and olives. In fact, many of the different species of trees that grow on Earth produce fruit and other edible products. What else are trees good for? If you live in an air-conditioned house, you may not appreciate this, but for the 99% of human history before air conditioning, people relied on trees for shade, especially in warm climates. Trees also have a multifaceted use in construction. Their wood has always been the primary constituent of shelters, houses, and other buildings we used to live in. Not only does it give strength, durability, and flexibility, wood often provides beautifully decorated natural designs. My nephew, Scott Francisco, is an architect, designer, and systems thinker. One of his specialties is wood design and construction. He was the project lead for a team that won the international design competition to re-image the historic Brooklyn Bridge. Their project, the Brooklyn Bridge Forest, sees the bridge surrounded by microforests at both ends. It also proposes having a wide promenade lane the length of the bridge, made from trees in a protected rainforest in Guatemala that is partnered with New York City. Scott's wife, Dr. Sarah Jane Wilson, is a tropical ecologist and human geographer. In her work, she focuses on community-based forest restoration in the tropics. I recently asked her, what important thing about trees or forests would you like people to know that they don't already know? Almost immediately, she responded, rivers in the sky. To be honest, although I had studied and taught science for many years, this was new to me. Atmospheric rivers are large movements of water up in our atmosphere that are several hundred kilometers wide and flow thousands of kilometers in one direction. For example, the water formed in the atmosphere by the evapotranspiration of trees in the Amazon rainforest flows south as far as Sao Paulo, Brazil, 2,600 kilometers away. Another atmospheric river, called the Pineapple Express, flows from the tropics near Hawaii to the west coast of North America. These atmospheric rivers don't just carry a few droplets of moisture. Many of them carry 5 or 10 times as much water as flows out of the Mississippi River. When this falls in one place, in the form of water or snow, it can cause a lot of damage. The catastrophic floods and snowfall in California this past winter of 2022-23 were caused by atmospheric rivers flowing in from over the ocean. Nevertheless, atmospheric rivers are key to supplying many areas of Earth with much needed water. They are an essential part of our global water system. Even more important is the role that trees play in photosynthesis. This process removes carbon dioxide, CO2, from the atmosphere, a common gas that we humans are producing at an alarming rate. If you look at my episode, The Science of Climate Change, you'll see more details on that. Atmospheric concentration of CO2 has increased by 50% since the Industrial Revolution and is predicted to double by the year 2060. This will lead to severe climate catastrophes, some of which we are already beginning to see. That is why it is so critical to reduce the global production of CO2 by moving away from fossil fuels. But if at the same time we allow the rate of deforestation in the world to increase, reducing our fossil fuel use may be of little avail. The Amazon rainforest accounts for 20% of the CO2 removed from the atmosphere by photosynthesis. 1/3 of the Amazon, however, has been cut down in the last 50 years, and another third is at risk. Here's a map showing the amount that was cut down in just 1 year, 2021. So you can see here the orange and red parts, and also the yellow medium, is just the cut down of the trees in the Amazon in 1 year. It can be argued, of course, that North Americans have cut down large amounts of their forests in the past 2 centuries, and that is true. But the American Food and Agriculture Organization recently reported, quote, after 2 centuries of decline, the area of U.S. forest land stabilized in about 1920 and has since increased. Forests are slowly growing back in North America. What we now need to do is help, as best we can, other countries reverse their decline in forest land. The increasing number of wildfires due to climate change is also a serious threat to the world's forests. Quote, wildfires in the vast and pristine forests of Canada, Europe, and the far northern U.S. could release an enormous amount of planet-warming emissions between now and 2050, putting the world's climate goals in peril, scientists report. This in turn just increases climate change all the more. Another key function of trees is their ability to help soil hold water. This is important for farming. Areas good for agriculture, once nearby trees are removed, however, often turn into deserts. And desertification, along with climate change and the loss of biodiversity, are the world's greatest environmental challenges. These are connected, for the removal of trees not only degrades agriculture, but also reduces the habitats of many species, leading to a loss in biodiversity. How can we help other countries replant trees? Plant with Purpose is a Christian nonprofit based in California. It partners with farmers in developing countries on reforestation projects. They have partnerships in 8 different countries. I have donated to them in the past, but unfortunately they are not registered in Canada. Tear Fund Canada, however, has recently added reforestation and tree planting as one of their projects that they engage in around the world. So this year, I started supporting them. Other Canadian nonprofits are Tree Canada and LEAF, L-E-A-F, Local Enhancement and Appreciation of Forests. The city of Toronto, where I live, is doing extensive tree planting. Every time I go for a walk, I notice the new trees on the outside of the sidewalk. I'm thankful that part of my taxes go towards reforestation. So here you can see the new trees on the right side, and the old trees on the left. Matthew Sleeth, a former physician and carpenter, dedicates his life to speaking about trees and their importance. In his book, Reforested Faith, he mentions that trees appear hundreds of times in the Bible, more than any other living thing except people. They often mark special events, such as the Lord appearing to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre. A good friend, Dr. Lytton Musselman, distinguished professor of botany at Old Dominion University, has spent his life studying the trees and plants of the Holy Land. He describes 80 of them in his book, Solomon Described Plants, a botanical guide to plant life in the Bible, published in 2022. Concerning the date palm tree, for example, Musselman writes, "Not only is the date palm beautiful, having an unbranched trunk with immense leaves, it is the basis of existence in desert regions, and it provides construction material, with its leaves for thatching and its logs for construction, and shade. It is one of the oldest fruit crops and has been cultivated for 4 millennia." In his book, Dr. Musselman shares fascinating scientific facts about the trees in the Holy Land and discusses their importance to life there. Perhaps the most important thing we learn about trees in the Bible is our responsibility to care for them. When Adam and Eve were put in the garden, they were told to work it and take care of it, Genesis 2:15. This would have included the trees. In his book, Dr. Sleeth points out that the responsibility we have as stewards of the world's trees and forests is taught all through Scripture. When all is said and done, Sleeth writes, one of the simplest and most direct ways we can pass along God's good earth in better condition than we received it is to plant trees. Thank you for listening. For more details and references, please see the written essay on my website.